German ARMY 1939–1945 to North Africa and Balkans. Context of the North African and Balkan campaigns. The Franco-German armistice of the 25th of June 1940 made Germany master of Western Europe. Hitler first considered an invasion of Great Britain in autumn 1940, then scheduled Operation Barbarossa, the conquest of the European part of the Soviet Union, for May 1941. Anxious to emulate Hitler's successes, the Italian dictator Mussolini embarked upon unnecessary military adventures in North Africa and the Balkans, which forced Hitler's intervention, diverting and depleting precious German resources, and a 6-week postponement of Barbarossa. This contributed to German defeat on the Eastern Front and Germany's collapse in May 1945. The quality of army units in the 31st of July 1940 Hitler began to prepare for Barbarossa. Now the combat area dictated the quality of army divisions that were used. Those in North Africa were generally makeshift units, reflecting the low priority of that theater. The forces committed to Operation Marita, the invasion of Yugoslavia and Greece, were frontline divisions earmarked for Barbarossa. They were replaced by second-line units with limited mobility and combat potential. First-line units making limited appearances in the Balkans until August 1943 and the arrival of the formidable Panzer Army. The development of army units in North Africa and the Balkans. From the 5th of October 1941, the Panzer Group was upgraded to a Panzer Army. Mountain corps were formed after September 1940 and motorized corps were redesignated Panzer Corps after June 1942. Reserve corps were formed after September 1942 for reserve divisions of units training in occupied countries. First-line infantry divisions generally retained their 1939 organization until 1942, often adding a reinforcement battalion to allocate reinforcements. To raise morale, all infantry regiments were redesignated grenadier regiments on the 15th of October 1942 and the Rhodes Garrison was designated an assault division on the 31st of May 1943. The 22 Airlanding Division was an infantry unit with airborne training, while the Africa designation reflected reduced organization or non-standard personnel. German ex-French foreign legionnaires or disciplinary personnel convicted of petty offenses but considered redeemable. They were also used for manning fortress units for static guard duties in Greece. Special Purpose CBV referred to a staff controlling heterogeneous units. On the 13th of April 1941, 700 series infantry divisions that were only 8,000 strong were formed from second-line troops for occupation duties. There were 2 infantry regiments, which lacked heavy equipment, an artillery battalion, reconnaissance, engineer and signals companies and minimal logistical support. On the 1st of April 1943, these divisions, along with light infantry divisions formed in December 1940 for combat in hilly terrain and selected reserve divisions, were reorganized as rifle Juger divisions with younger personnel and M1939 infantry organization, but with only 2 rifle regiments. From 1940 to territorial rifle units were gradually redesignated security units. The most important field unit controlled by Army Intelligence Abwehr was Brandenburg Commando Regiment 800 Lehr Regiment Brandenburg ZBV 800. On the 20th of November 1942 it was redesignated Special Unit Sonderverband Brandenburg, with 5 regiments and a signals and a coastal commando battalion. On the 1st of April 1943 it was redesignated the Brandenburg Division, and on the 15th of September 1944 it became the Brandenburg Mechanized Division. Sonderverband 287 and 288 were mixed regiments of specialist troops originally organized for commando operations in the Persian Gulf, then reassigned for conventional warfare. Sonderverband 287, formed on the 4th of August 1942, fought in the Caucasus with 2 mechanized battalions, a signals battalion, at armored reconnaissance and engineer companies, assault artillery and rocket projector batteries, and a supply unit. From the 2nd of May 1943 it served in Yugoslavia as 92nd Motorized Regiment. Sonderverband 288, formed on the 24th of July 1941 with a staff HQ, armored reconnaissance and Arab companies and 8 independent companies sabotage, mountain, motorized rifle, MG, AT, engineers and signals, fought in North Africa. It became Mechanized Regiment Africa on the 31st of October 1942. The 1941 Panzer Division organization differed from that of 1939 by having one Panzer Regiment and two motorized rifle regiments. By August 1941, all mobile divisions had converted to Panzer divisions. And on the 5th of July 1940, two motorized rifle regiments in Panzer and Light Africa divisions were redesignated mechanized Panzer Grenadier regiments. On the 24th of March 1943, the motorcycle reconnaissance battalions became armored reconnaissance battalions with armored cars, motorcycles and jeeps. Divisional Fusilier battalions were partly bicycle-equipped infantry introduced on the 2nd of October 1943, replacing disbanded divisional reconnaissance battalions. And A battalions continued cavalry traditions. In March 1940, anti-tank assault gun batteries were formed, and on the 10th of August 1940 they were grouped into battalions, each with 31 self-propelled guns. Army anti-aircraft artillery battalions were introduced in February 1941, with 3 batteries of 8.8 cm anti-aircraft guns as anti-tank guns. Supply services were coordinated by the Divisional Supply Nakshib officer. In October 1942, redesignated the Divisional Supply Commander, controlling the motor transport and fuel supply columns from the 25th of November 1942 grouped into a motor transport company. Horse-drawn transport columns from the 15th of November 1943 grouped into a company, workshop company and supply company, later battalion. Foreign volunteers. The increasing demands on manpower forced the recruitment of foreign nationals. 3rd B and Sonderverband 287, the German Arab Instruction Battalion Deutsche Arabischer Abteilung, was formed on the 12th of January 1942 and fought in Tunisia. On the 22nd of November 1942, the Vichy French Phalange Africaine African Phalanx was formed in Tunisia, and in March 1943 its 220 personnel fought with 334th Infantry Regiment in Tunisia. On the 9th of January 1943, the German Arab Troops Command Codet, also called the Free Arabian Legion, was established in Tunisia. Eventually it comprised 1 Moroccan, 1 Algerian and 2 Tunisian limited combat value battalions with German cadres. In Yugoslavia, 3 Croatian Legion infantry divisions were formed to fight Tito's partisans, the 369th Devils Division on the 21st of August 1942, 373rd Tiger Division on the 6th of January 1943, and 392nd Blue Division on the 17th of August 1943. On the 12th of September 1941, a force of White Russians, eventually 5 regiments strong and designated Russian Corps, fought in Serbia. German Arab Infantry Battalion 845, formed on the 5th of June 1943 from 3rd B and Sonderverband 287, served in Greece, and Armenian Infantry Battalion I-125 fought in Albania with 297th Infantry Division. In September 1943, perhaps the most exotic formation of the Second World War, the 1st Cossack Division, arrived in Croatia with 2nd Panzer Army. Formed in occupied Poland on the 4th of August 1943 from units who had fought with the Germans on the Eastern Front, it comprised a German cadre commanding 2 cavalry brigades with 2 Don, 1 Siberian, 1 Cuban and 2 Tarik cavalry regiments, 1 artillery regiment, and divisional support units. Attached to 69 corps in eastern Croatia on anti-partisan duties, the division achieved an unenviable reputation among the civilian population. The strategy in North Africa. On the 13th of September 1940, the Italian 10th Army advanced from Cyrenaica northeast Libya into Egypt, only to be forced back into Tripolitania in northwest Libya by the first offensive from the British Imperial garrison. Hitler decided to send a small expeditionary force to bolster Italian forces by blocking the light advance and prevent an Italian collapse in Libya. Encouraged by initial successes, the German commander, General-Lieutenant Erwin Rommel, dreamed of occupying Egypt and advancing into the Middle East, linking up with a victorious German thrust through southern Russia into Iraq and Iran, and threatening British India. However, with the steady Allied build-up, his forces for divisions in Libya made even the official objective unrealistic. Rommel was constrained by permanent shortages of fuel, supplies and reinforcements. Much of it had to be brought by sea from Naples to Tripoli, across the western Mediterranean, which was patrolled by British forces. The build-up in North Africa contingent, which disembarked at Tripoli on the 14th of February 1941, became the 5th Light Division 5th Mobile Division on the 18th of February. It had Panzer Regiment 5 with 120 tanks instead of 44 in the usual battalion, 3rd Reconnaissance BN, 39th Anti-Tank BN, I-75. Artillery BN instead of a regiment and motorized divisional support units minus 183rd Medical Company for 572nd Field Hospital, 309th Military Police Troop, and 735th Field Post Office, but no engineers or signals. To this were added 2nd and 8th Machine Gun Battalions in an infantry role, 606th AA Company with 8.8 centimeters anti-aircraft guns, and 606th Anti-Tank Battalion to form a division strong in tanks and anti-tank guns but weak in infantry. In August 1941 it became 21 Panzer Division, with Panzer Regiment 5, 104th Motorized Rifle later Mechanized Ret, 155th Artillery Ret, 15th Motorcycle Reconnaissance Ret, and Divisional Support Units Anti-Tank BN, Engineer BN, Signals BN, Supply BN, Medical Company, Field Hospital, MP Troop, and on the 19th of February 1941 it constituted the first unit of the German Afrika Korps Deutsches Afrika Korps DAK under Rommel, officially subordinated to the Italian Armed Forces High Command North Africa. On the 1st of September 1941 the DAK eventually comprising 15th, 21st Panzer, 90th Africa, and 164th Light Africa Divisions, and 1 to 3 Italian Corps, became Panzer Group Africa. On the 30th of January 1942 Armored Army Africa, on the 1st of October 1940 to German-Italian Armored Army, and on the 22nd of February 1943 1st Italian Army under the Italian General Giovanni Mess. On the 14th of November 1942 HQ Nering Stab Nering, which on the 19th of November was redesignated at LXXX Corps, and on the 8th of December, 5th Armored Army, was formed for operations in Tunisia with 3 German divisions. Combining with 1st Italian Army it formed Army Group Africa on the 22nd of February 1943. Rommel's first offensive. On the 23rd of March 1941 Rommel launched his first offensive with 5th Mobile Division and 3 Italian divisions, storming El Agheila and advancing through Kyrenaica, before halting on the 27th of May at Hellfire Pass, just inside Egypt. On the 30th of April 15, Panzer Division arrived with Panzer Regiment 8, 15th Motorized Rifle Brigade 104th and 115th Regiments, 33rd Field Reinforcement BN, 33rd Artillery Ret, 33rd Motorized Reconnaissance BN and Divisional Support Units, plus 15th Motorcycle Reconnaissance BN and 2nd Machine Gun BN, all motorized. By April 1940 to 15th Motorcycle Rechi BN and 104th Motorized Rifle Ret had left, and 115th Motorized Rifle Ret and 2nd MGBN had formed 115th Mechanized Ret, joined by 200th Light Infantry later Mechanized Ret. In August 1941 the Africa Special Purpose Division was assigned to Rommel. Formed on the 26th of June 1941 from 361st Reinforced Infantry Regiment with former Foreign Legionnaires and 155th Motorized Rifle Ret, both units redesignated Light Infantry in April 1942 and mechanized in July 1942. The division was renamed the 90th Light Africa Division on the 26th of November, adding 580th Mixed Rechi Company, 361st Artillery BN, 900th Engineer BN, and 190th Signals Company. In April 1942 it was renamed 90th Light Infantry Division. On the 26th of July it was renamed 90th Africa Division and expanded, adding 200th Mechanized Ret, 190th Artillery Ret, 190th Panzer BN, 90th Armored Rechi BN, 190th EP BN plus motorized divisional support units. Rommel's second offensive. On the 18th of November 1941 the British 8th Army commenced its second British Crusader offensive into Kyrenaica, forcing Rommel back into Tripolitania. He halted at El Agheila on the 31st of December. There, on the 21st of January 1942, Rommel launched his second offensive, penetrating to 150 miles into Egypt before stopping at El Alamein. In July 1940 to the hard-pressed Rommel received reinforcements, when the Crete Fortress Division was flown in and reformed on the 15th of August as a mechanized unit. 164th Light Africa Division with 125th and 1943 Mechanized Ret Africa, 382nd and 433rd Mechanized Rets, 220th Artillery Ret, 164th Armored 1943, 220th Motorized, Reconnaissance BN and Motorized Divisional Support Units. The final retreat through Libya on the 23rd of October 1940 to a total of 230,000 Allied troops advanced from El Alamein, forcing back Rommel's 100,000 men for German and 10 Italian divisions. The German-Italian armored army retreated through Libya, eventually halting on the Mareth line, 100 miles inside Tunisia, on the 15th of February 1943. On the 19th of February, Rommel routed U.S. Army forces at the Kasserine Pass before handing over to General Oberst von Arnim and returning to Germany. Then in Tunisia on the 8th of November 1942, an Anglo-American expeditionary force landed in Morocco and Algeria. They had advanced to within 50 miles of Tunis when, in late November, the 10th Panzer Division reached Tunis as part of XXX Corps' later 5th Armored Army. This unit had Panzerregiment 7, 10th Mechanized Brigade 69th, 86th Mechanized Rets, 10th Armored Regiment, 90th Armored Artillery Ret, 302nd ABN and Motorized Divisional Support Units. It was joined in late December 1940 by 334th Infantry Division formed the 25th of November with 754th and 755th Grenadier Rets, 756th Mountain Ret, 334th Artillery Ret and Divisional Support Units. Then, in late March 1943, 999th Afrika Division arrived. Originally formed as a brigade on the 6th of October 1942 and expanded to a division on the 2nd of February 1943, this unique formation, with all its subunits carrying the black number 999, was composed of disciplinary troops led by regular officers and NCOs. Organized as an infantry unit, the division comprised 961st 963rd Afrika Rifle Rets, 999th Artillery Ret, 999th Armored Reconnaissance BN and Divisional Support Units. 5th Armored Army also included the 21 Panzer Division transferred from the DAK, the Scratchman-Teufel Mixed Division, to Luftwaffe anti-aircraft divisions and other German and Italian units. It broke out of the Tunis bridgehead in November 1942, and by February 1943 had established a 40-mile deep defensive line around Tunis. However, on the 20th of March the British 8th Army broke through at the Mareth line, and on the 12th of May von Arnim surrendered in Tunis. Army uniform in North Africa. Tropical uniform production. In July 1940 the Tropical Institute of the University of Hamburg designed a tropical uniform based on items used by German colonial troops until November 1918. By December 1940 the uniforms were in full production, with more than enough supplies to equip the 5th Mobile Division and 15th Panzer Division, who were deployed to Libya from February 1941. Most items of the M194 tropical uniform were manufactured in ribbed heavy cotton twill or cotton drill. The prescribed color was light olive, a greenish sandy brown known as khaki in Great Britain, and olive drab in the United States, and contrasting with the plain sandy brown or tan of Navy M1941 and Luftwaffe M1941 tropical uniforms. Consistent production of this shade was not achieved until 1941, and in 1940 it could vary from dark greenish-brown through dark brown to sandy brown. The M194 tropical greatcoat was manufactured in deep chocolate brown wool. Unlike the continental Feldgrau greenish-gray clothing, almost all tropical uniform items were standard issue for officers and men. The M194 tropical uniform proved very popular, and in 1943 its wear was extended to the Southern European theater. Army personnel were forbidden to wear Feldgrau Continental, or Navy, Luftwaffe or Italian tropical uniform items, but shortages of supply, especially in North Africa, and individual preference, particularly among senior officers, subverted this regulation. Orders of dress regulations issued on the 28th of December 1939 which simplified the orders of dress during wartime also applied to North Africa. The formal ceremonial and formal ceremonial, parade, reporting, and dress and guard uniforms were abolished, leaving all ranks with for orders of dress for formal and semi-formal occasions. The service uniform, or walking out uniform, for training or barracks duties, the service uniform. For combat, the field uniform. The fatigue uniform for work details was not worn in North Africa. Officers' tropical service uniform. This uniform consisted of the tropical pith helmet or peaked field cap, field tunic, shirt, tie, pullover, greatcoat, belt, pistol and holster, and breeches or shorts with high boots, or long trousers with ankle boots. The M1940 standard tropical pith helmet was manufactured in press cork covered in light olive, later tan, canvas with a brown leather chin strap. A black-white red diagonally striped national shield was fixed on the right side, and a silver-white Wehrmacht eagle on the left, in stamped brass later and stamped aluminum, as ordered in 1934 for the steel helmet. The M1942 tropical pith helmet, in seamless pressed mid-olive felt, introduced in late 1942, did not see service in North Africa. Captured British helmets and French or Dutch helmets commandeered after the 1940 Blitzkrieg campaign were also worn, and the pith helmet was less popular with the troops. They preferred the tropical peaked field cap, but often retained the pith helmet for more formal occasions. The M1940 standard tropical peaked field cap, introduced in mid-1941, was made of light olive-ribbed heavy cotton twill and styled on the M1930 Feldgrau mountain cap, but with a longer peak, a false flap and no buttons. Insignia comprised a machine-woven bluish-gray thread eagle and swastika on a rust-brown shape backing. Below this was a machine-woven black outer, white thread national cockade on a rust-brown diamond backing, and closed by a branch-color facing cloth chevron. Point-up abolished on the 8th of September 1942. General officers wore a gold artificial silk chevron. Officers wore a 3 mm aluminum gold for general officers. Cord piping around the crown and on the front scallop of or right around the false flap. Some officers unofficially retained the M1935 Continental Eagle and cockade in bright aluminum or aluminum bullion on bluish dark green facing cloth. This cap became the most distinctive and prized uniform item worn by the DAC. Prolonged exposure to the harsh tropical sun bleached it to an off-white color, and it was worn with pride as the badge of the Afrika Korps' Old Sweat. The M1940 standard tropical field tunic in light olive-ribbed heavy cotton twill was based on the M1933 field tunic for NCOs and men, with plain cuffs. -1 sometimes for light olive sprayed pebbled front buttons and for patch pockets with scallop flaps and pleats, but adding an open collar and fashion lapels. The M1942 tropical field tunic, seen after October 1942, omitted the pocket pleats, while the M1943 tunic, manufactured too late for the North African campaign, had straight pocket flaps and no pleats. Some officers wore privately purchased tunics and a few sported the stylish Italian tan Sahariana tropical field tunic. A machine-woven bluish-gray thread eagle and swastika on a rust-brown shape backing, a larger version of the one on the field cap, was worn above the right breast pocket of the tunic, with the swastika often overlapping onto the pocket flap. Although many officers unofficially retained the M1935 Continental Met aluminum braid breast eagle with a bluish dark green facing cloth backing. To machine-woven bluish-gray guards braids, each a rust-brown braid center stripe and dividing stripe, were sewn directly to the collar of the field tunic. Continental field quality shoulder boards were worn. Many, if not most, officers unofficially adopted the more distinctive M1935 Continental bluish dark green facing cloth collar patches with two matte aluminum guards braids, each with a branch-colored silk embroidered center cord. On the tunic, general officers wore matte gold sprayed buttons and the traditional M1927 Continental collar patches introduced on the 1st of August 1927. The latter comprised the matte yellow yarn two-leaf alt-Larish design on a bright red facing color patch. And officially most also wore a Continental bright or matte gold thread breast eagle on a bluish dark green facing cloth backing. The M1940 standard tropical shirt was manufactured in light olive cotton drill with 4 small composite fiber front buttons and 2 breast pockets with pleats and scallop flaps, each secured by a light olive painted pebbled button. Ex-French Army M1935 khaki tropical shirts, with their distinctive button-down collars and 3 front buttons, were also worn until the end of 1942. When the shirt was worn as the outer garment, Continental field quality shoulder boards were fixed to the shoulders using detachable light olive painted pebbled buttons. The M1940 standard tropical tie, also in light olive cotton drill, was usually discarded on active service and was omitted if the officer wore collar decorations. The M1940 standard olive brown wool pullover, with a roll neck or turtleneck, was worn under the field tunic. The M1940 standard tropical greatcoat, essential for freezing desert nights, was manufactured in deep chocolate brown wool in the cut of the M1935 Feldgrau field greatcoat, with 2 rows of 6 matte Feldgrau buttons, a back half belt secured by 2 buttons, turn-back cuffs and Continental field quality shoulder boards and a divided back seam. General officers had matte gold pebbled buttons, leaving the top 2 buttons open to show bright red-facing cloth lapel linings. Other officers entitled to collar decorations also left these buttons open. Officers also wore the leather greatcoat. The M1940 officer's tropical belt was in heavy olive green canvas with a circular aluminum buckle painted olive green featuring an eagle and swastika and an oak wreath. But most officers chose to retain their brown leather Continental belt with an aluminum 2-claw open buckle. A .08 Luger, P38 or Walther PPK pistol was usually carried in a brown leather holster. The M1940 standard tropical breeches were manufactured in light olive ribbed heavy cotton twill with a concealed integral belt. General officers retained their traditional 2mm piping down the outer seam, flanked on each side by a 4 cm stripe, all in bright red facing cloth. The breeches were worn with M1940 first pattern standard tropical high boots in light olive canvas, with brown leather toe and step and inner ankle reinforcements, and black laces. These were superseded in mid-1941 by the second pattern, extending the leather instep, and a slightly shorter third pattern, introduced in late 1941, extended the leather toe and the instep. Some senior officers, including Rommel, favored black leather Continental high boots. The M1940 standard light olive ribbed heavy cotton twill tropical long trousers proved more practical than the breeches, and troops often added tapes to allow the trouser bottoms to be pulled tight over the ankles. General officers wore bright red trouser stripes. The trousers were worn with M1940 first pattern standard tropical ankle boots, also in light olive canvas, with brown leather toe and instep reinforcements and black laces. The second pattern, introduced in late 1942, also extended the leather toe and instep reinforcements. M1940 standard tropical light olive ribbed heavy cotton twill shorts could also be worn either with tropical high boots or with M1940 light olive knee socks and tropical ankle boots. Other ranks tropical service uniform. Other ranks except senior and CO submitted the officer's pistol, but otherwise wore much the same uniforms as officers. There were slight differences, usually regarding the quality of the insignia. They wore issue uniforms and insignia, and unlike officers enjoyed less latitude in adopting unofficial insignia and retaining Continental uniform items and insignia. Rank insignia will be considered separately. Other ranks wore the same tropical pith helmet, shirt, and tie, breeches, trousers, shorts, knee socks, high boots and ankle boots as officers, but they did not wear cord pipings on the M1940 tropical peaked field cap. NCOs wore 9mm wide copper tan aluminum diamond pattern collar braid on the field tunic but none on the tropical greatcoat, which was the same cut as for officers. The other rank's M1940 tropical belt was in heavy olive green or light tan canvas with a square aluminum buckle painted olive green featuring an eagle and swastika in a ring, with the motto "God Miku and S God is with us" and oak leaves. Officers' tropical walking out uniform. This uniform consisted of the tropical pith helmet or peaked field cap, field tunic, shirt, tie, greatcoat, and breeches or shorts with high boots, or long trousers with ankle boots. It was identical to the service uniform, except that no belt, pistol or holster was worn. For more formal occasions, some senior officers preferred a privately tailored uniform, a superior quality field tunic with turn-back cuffs and Continental collar patches and brass eagles, gray suede gloves, and trousers with black Continental leather lace-up shoes. Against regulations, the M1935 settle-shaped Feldgrau officer's peaked cap was sometimes worn, and some general officers had a tropical peaked cap made, with superior quality light olive cloth replacing the Feldgrau tricot. Other ranks tropical walking out uniform. Other ranks wore the same uniform as officers with other ranks insignia, but with the M1940 other ranks tropical belt and the Continental M1936 marksman's lanyard, as modified in 1939. This consisted of a matte aluminum-plated cord with an aluminum Wehrmacht eagle above crossed swords on the shield, all in a small wreath, with 1 to 3 aluminum acorns miniature artillery shells for gunners designating awards to 2-4. Awards 5 to 8 had a larger wreath. Awards 9 to 12 had the same badge and gilt. The lanyard was suspended from the right shoulder strap and hooked to the first tunic button. Officers' tropical field uniform. All officers wore the tropical pith helmet or peaked field cap, later the steel helmet, field tunic, shirt, tie, pullover, greatcoat, belt, and breeches or shorts with high boots, or long trousers with ankle boots. Helmets were not general issue in North Africa until early 1943, although mechanized infantry, anti-tank troops and engineers had acquired them by late 1941. The M1935 helmet and the M1942 helmet, introduced on the 1st of August 1942, had a silver-white Wehrmacht eagle on a black shield, usually stenciled on the left side. Most soldiers painted their helmets roughly with pale yellow, mustard beige or orange and vehicle camouflage paint, sometimes mixed with sand. They often painted over the shield. The DAC vehicle sign, a white palm tree and swastika, was sometimes painted unofficially on one side of the helmet. Sandbag Hessian provided practical helmet camouflage. Officers other than infantry platoon leaders carried a pistol and holster and 6x30 black binoculars in a smooth brown leather or bakelite case. Infantry platoon leaders were gradually issued equipment in a modified tropical version for North Africa, and often painted metal fittings with sand yellow camouflage paint. They wore the other ranks M1940. Olive green canvas belt and M194 olive green canvas tropical infantry support Y straps with Feldgrau or olive green painted aluminum fittings supporting to sets of 3 M1938 40ths Feldgrau canvas. Ammunition pouches for the MP38 or MP40 submachine gun on the front hips. Also worn on the left front hip was the brown or black leather M1935 dispatch case, the 80-98 bayonet in a black scabbard, and M194 olive green or tan canvas tropical bayonet frog. The M194 folding entrenching tool was worn on the left back hip, and the M1941 brown or tan canvas tropical bread bag and two M1931 brown felt-covered canteens with M194 olive green or tan tropical C. Canvas straps and aluminum cup were worn on the right back hip. Webbing supported the M1931 Mestin, which had M194 olive green tropical canvas straps and M1931 camouflage shelter quarter on the upper back. A Feldgrau canvas strap positioned the anti-gas cape, with a tan-colored canvas cover strapped to the M193 or M193 gas mask on the lower back. Binoculars, compass, signal whistle and field flashlight were also worn. All members of armored and motorized units were issued Zysumbral sun goggles, and some personnel, notably Rommel, sported captured British models. Other ranks tropical field uniform. Other ranks wore the same uniform as for officers, with other ranks insignia. In a 10-man infantry section, the section leader, usually an unteroffizier, wore platoon leader's equipment. The deputy section leader and the 5 riflemen carried standard rifleman's equipment. This consisted of a tropical belt and tropical Y straps supporting to sets of 3 light brown pebbled leather rifle ammunition pouches or, more commonly, continental black pebbled leather pouches, sometimes painted sand yellow on the front hips. On the left back hip was the bayonet, scabbard and tropical bayonet frog and entrenching tool. On the right back hip the tropical canteen and bread bag. On the upper back the mess tin and shelter quarter. On the lower back the gas mask. On the upper chest the anti-gas cape. Zysumbral sun goggles were also widely worn. The first gunner, the machine gunner of the 3-man light machine gun team, wore the tropical belt, with AP-08 Luger or AP-38 pistol in a black holster on his left front hip and a continental black leather spares pouch on his right front hip. The second gunner, the replacement machine gunner, wore standard rifleman's equipment, with a pistol and black leather continental holster on his left front hip instead of ammunition pouches, and for 50-round ammunition drums, a 300-round ammunition box, and a sheet metal barrel protector with 1 or 2 spare barrels. The third gunner wore standard rifleman's equipment and carried 2 ammunition boxes. Tank crews tropical uniforms. The M193 for black tank crew uniform was impractical for North Africa, so tank crews wore the standard M194 tropical uniform. However, all members of the 3 panzer regiments, 5th, 7th and 8th, including attached administrative officials and assault gun battery 287, and aluminum skulls detached from black-collar chests to the lapels of their tropical field tunics. The M1940 standard tropical tank crew field cap. Effectively, the M1940 tropical peak field cap without the peak was the same design as the M193 second pattern Feldgrau other ranks field cap. Made of light olive cotton twill, it had the same insignia of eagle and swastika, cockade and, until the 8th of September 1942, a pink for Panzer troops branch color facing cloth chevron, with aluminum cord piping for officers. This cap substituted for the pith helmet, which was unsuitable for the confines of an armored vehicle, but it was superseded by the tropical peak field cap. Some armored personnel retained the black Continental Tank Crew's M1940 officers or other ranks field cap, against regulations. Special uniforms and insignia for other branch escadrille officers, NCOs and men of the 999th Africa Division wore standard tropical uniforms and full insignia. But the disciplinary troops omitted all insignia and wore the M1940 other ranks tropical belt, with a plain pebbled disc on the belt buckle. Brandenburg units, reporting to Army Intelligence Abwehr, continued to wear German or foreign uniforms or civilian clothes, depending on their mission. Sonderverband 287 and 288 wore standard tropical uniforms with the appropriate branch color pipings. Early in 1942, an unofficial bronze version of the Orient Corps Oriental Corps vehicle sign was pinned to the left breast pocket, replaced in late 1940 to buy a cloth badge worn on the right upper sleeve, a machine-woven yellow rising sun behind a white palm tree, swastika, and laurel wreath on a dark bluish-green oval, with a machine-embroidered version on dark bluish-green facing cloth for the tropical greatcoat. The two mountain units in North Africa of 756th Mountain Regiment and 2nd Company, Sonderverband 288, are both in Tunisia in 1943, wore standard tropical field uniform, often with tropical breeches, continental brown or black leather-studded climbing ankle boots and puttees. Troops carried the standard Continental M1931 tropical greenish khaki canvas mountain rucksack and wore the M1939 mountain cap badge, a white later gray aluminum edelweiss with a stem to leaves and gilt later yellow stamens on the left side of the tropical peak field cap, and the M1939 mountain arm badge, a machine-woven white edelweiss with yellow stamens and a light green stem and leaves within, a mouse gray rope wreath on a dark green later Feldgrau facing cloth oval. The M1940 tropical motorcyclist greatcoat was a copy of the M193 Continental rubberized coat manufactured in dark olive tan-ribbed heavy cotton twill. It was also worn by vehicle drivers and some officers, who preferred it to the heavier woolen overcoat. Some personnel of the 33rd Divisional Reconnaissance Battalion, probably only former officers, and NCOs of 6th Cavalry Regiment, wore the matte aluminum Schwed Eagle, also called the Dragoon Eagle tradition badge on the front of the M1940 field cap and peaked field cap. Assault engineers were issued the M1940 tropical, a frame made of olive green or tan canvas straps to carry the engineer's assault pack, with the mess tin and shelter quarter strapped to the upper back. A light olive canvas equipment bag strapped to each front hip or two light olive canvas equipment bags hanging around the neck. They carried the bayonet, scabbard and bayonet frog and entrenching tool on the left back hip, and 1 or 2 water bottles, the bread bag and wire cutters in a black leather case. Military police wore the normal tropical uniform with continental insignia. This comprised the police arm badge, a machine-woven or embroidered orange eagle and black swastika, and an orange wreath in hand-embroidered aluminum thread for officers on a Feldgrau backing, often omitted in the field. They had a machine-woven aluminum felgendarmerie on a brown sleeve title-edged in aluminum yarn, later machine-embroidered in silver-gray yarn on the left cuff, and, on duty, the matte aluminum gorget. In shirt sleeve order, only the gorget was worn. The uniforms and insignia of Army officials, including chaplains and Sonderführer, will be covered in Volume 3, Uniforms and Insignia of Foreign Volunteers. The German cadre and the Arab personnel of Sonderverband 287, including the German Arab Instruction Battalion and 845th Infantry Battalion in Greece, wore the normal tropical uniform, with infantry white branch color pipings with, on the right upper sleeve, a shield featuring a white, red, black and green Iraqi flag with Free Arabia printed in Arabic and German. Arab personnel on labor duties wore a white turban. Arabs of the Codat battalions wore the French Continental M1935 khaki field uniform and brown leather equipment with a German helmet and, on the right upper sleeve, a white armband with Im Dienst der Deutschen Wehrmacht attached to the German Armed Forces. Introduced on the 1st of October 1941. The Phalange Africaine added a French tricolor helmet badge and an axe badge on the right breast pocket. German tropical uniforms were issued for combat. Rank insignia for a detailed description of ranks, responsibilities, and rank insignia. See May 311 German Army 1939–1945 1 Blitzkrieg. General officers, field officers, captains and subalterns wore the same field quality rank insignia as on their Continental Feldgrau uniforms on the tropical field tunic. Shirt went in shirt sleeve order, greatcoat and motorcyclist greatcoat. All NCOs and men wore light olive heavy cotton twill olive brown wool on the greatcoat rounded shoulder straps, with branch color piping. NCOs added 9mm copper tan aluminum diamond pattern collar braid with, where appropriate, Continental 1.8 cm, 2 cm or 2.4 cm wide bright aluminum pips. A Hauptfeldwebel Dutons wore 2 tropical NCO braids on the cuff of the field tunic and greatcoat. Men's rank insignia consisted of armed chevrons made of tropical NCO braid combined, where appropriate, with an embroidered silver gray or aluminum thread pip on a light olive ribbed heavy cotton twill triangle or disc. On the 22nd of August 1942 new rank insignia was prescribed for the left upper sleeve of the M1940 tropical shirt of officers and NCOs. It consisted of green and golden yellow insignia on a black rectangle, but its relative unpopularity and supply problems suggest only limited use in North Africa. It will be described in detail in Volume 4. Branch insignia. German soldiers' main branch of service was indicated by a branch color. Since, with the exception of general officers, the collar patches on the tropical uniform did not show the branch color, branch affiliation was officially restricted to the officer's shoulder board underlay. Other ranks shoulder strap piping and, before the 8th of September 1942, the branch color facing cloth chevron on the M1940 peakless and peaked field caps. M1940 tropical shoulder straps for junior NCOs and men were manufactured without branch symbols or unit numerals. Officers and senior NCOs removed unit numerals from their shoulder boards and shoulder straps but often retained their gold-collared galvanized, lacquered gray aluminum or zinc alloy branch symbols, such as the Gothic P for anti-tank units. Symbols and numerals could be worn when in rear areas or on rare leave trips to Germany. Units in North Africa contained a high percentage of mobile units, so the white branch color, principally worn by the infantry and therefore the most common color in Europe, was comparatively rarely encountered. Motorized rifle regiments, who wore a Gothic S symbol, unit numeral, and the Panzer pink branch color, were ordered, with effect from the 25th of September 1939, to drop the S and adopt a grass-green Wiesengrün branch color. This was retained on the 5th of July 1942, when motorized rifle and light infantry were redesignated as mechanized regiments. Individual divisional reconnaissance divisions Fusiler battalions derived from former cavalry regiments wore cavalry gold and yellow instead of white. Afrika Korps cuff titles. In the 18th of July 1941 a cuff title was prescribed for all army personnel with 2 months service in the DAC, extended on the 4th of November to all Panzer Group Afrika personnel. Its wear was confined to North Africa and was rarely worn in the front line. It was permitted on continental uniforms when on leave in Germany. The cuff title, worn on the right cuff of the tropical field tunic and greatcoat, had a machine-woven white or bright aluminum Afrika Korps on a dark green cloth background with a machine-woven white or bright aluminum inner border and a light tin cloth outer border. In spring 1941 a few troops had briefly worn an unofficial version, with a white embroidered Afrika Korps on a black woolen cuff title, with a white embroidered edging for officers. The official cuff title was replaced on the 15th of January 1943 by the Afrika cuff title, a brown ochre fine wool title with a silver-gray cotton thread Afrika flanked by 2 palm trees and edging worn on the left cuff of all tunics and greatcoats. It was awarded to personnel wounded in North Africa or with 6 months combat duty, therefore with honorable service in April and May 1943 in Tunisia, or 3 if incapacitated by tropical disease. Only a few troops received the title before the German surrender in Tunis. The strategy in the Balkans. On the 28th of October 1940, Mussolini invaded Greece from Albania. However, damaging Greek counterattacks, the British occupation on the 31st of October of strategically vital Crete, which threatened Romanian oil fields that were vital for the German war machine. The arrival of a 53,000-strong Allied W force in Greece on the 7th of March 1941 and a pro-Allied military coup in Yugoslavia on the 27th of March forced Hitler to activate Operation Marita to prevent Greece and Yugoslavia aiding the Allies. The invasion of Yugoslavia. German forces comprised 2nd Army General Oberst von Weichs, with 4 corps -51, Lee, -1 Panzer, -1 Mountain, and most of 12th Army General Feldmarschall List, with 5 corps -18 Mountain, -1 Panzer with She, 14 Panzer and -1 motorized corps in 1st Panzer Group General Oberst von Kleist. These forces totaled 24 divisions, 8 infantry, 7 Panzer, 4 Mountain, 2 motorized, 1 light infantry and 2 SS motorized, assisted by Italian and Hungarian units. The invasion commenced on the 6th of April. The 2nd Army reached Zagreb on the 10th of April, Belgrade on the 12th of April, Sarajevo on the 16th of April and Dubrovnik on the 17th of April. 1st Panzer Group She and the 14th Panzer Corps captured Nis on the 8th of April and Belgrade on the 12th of April, leading -1 motorized corps advancing from Romania. XXXX Panzer Corps and elements of the 18th Corps occupied Yugoslav Macedonia, taking Strumica on the 6th of April, Skopje on the 7th of April and Monastir on the 9th of April before pivoting southwards towards Greece. The 30 Yugoslav divisions were easily defeated by German blitzkrieg tactics. In the north, some Slovene and Croatian units refused to fight, but Serbian divisions in the south counterattacked briefly into Italian-held Albania. On the 17th of April, the Yugoslav High Command surrendered, but many troops joined nationalist Chetnik and later communist partisan guerrilla forces. The invasion of Greece. The Greek army comprised 21 divisions in 1st Epirus Army, 2nd Eastern Macedonian Army and with the troops of W Force. On the 6th of April, the German 12th Army's the 30th Corps advanced into Western Thrace against Greek 2nd Army, taking Zandi on the 9th of April. By the 4th of May they had occupied the Aegean Islands. On the 9th of April 18 Mountain Corps stormed the Metaxa line in Greek Macedonia and advanced through eastern Greece, reaching Larissa on the 19th of April. -1 Panzer Corps pushed through western Greece, taking Kazani on the 14th of April and Ioannina on the 20th of April, forcing the outflanked Greek 1st Army to surrender on the 23rd of April, then pursuing W Force, taking Lamia on the 20th of April, Thermopylae on the 24th of April and Athens on the 27th of April. On the 30th of April the Peloponnese were secured, and W Force had evacuated to Crete. The German invasion of Crete Operation Mercury commenced on the 20th of May 1941, when the Luftwaffe 7th Air Division parachuted onto Crete. And from the 22nd of May 5th Mountain Division and 6th Mountain Division's 141st Mountain Ret were flown in by glider. The 41,500 Allied defenders fought tenaciously, but on the 1st of June the Germans secured the island. The occupation of Yugoslavia in mid-June 1941, after 8 weeks pacification duties, German 2nd and 12th Army divisions transferred to the Eastern Front. Hitler divided Yugoslavia among his Italian, Hungarian and Bulgarian allies, establishing a Serbian government under Commander Serbia in Belgrade, and supporting a Croatian state that covered Croatia and Bosnia-Herzegovina. German occupation troops were limited to Alexei Corps in Belgrade, redesignated Serbia Command on the 1st of May 1942, Southeast Military Command on the 13th of August 1943 and finally Army Section Serbia on the 26th of September 1944, before abolition on the 27th of October 1944. In October 1942 Croatia Command on the 8th of July 1943 redesignated Sea Reserve Corps and on the 20th of January 1944 69 Corps coordinated German security duties in Croatia and Bosnia, while Sirmia Command, formed January 1944, controlled East Croatia. During the 39-and-a-half-month occupation, from mid-June 1941 to the 4th of October 1944, when the Balkan theater merged with the Eastern Front, German forces and their Italian, Bulgarian, Croatian and Serbian allies undertook 13 major operations. These were initially against Chetnik and partisan guerrillas, but following the Italian armistice of the 8th of September 1943, they were also against Italian and, after the Bulgarian defection of the 10th of September 1944, Bulgarian forces. As guerrilla activity intensified, the average number of German divisions increased from 4 in 1941 to 5 in 1942, 9.5 in 1943 when for corps of 2nd Panzer Army -15, 21 Mountain, Alexei Reserve and 3 SS Panzer arrived on the 8th of September 1943 to disarm the Italian army and oppose an anticipated Allied landing, and 12 in 1944. By the 4th of October 1944, 24 German divisions had served in Yugoslavia, 13 infantry, 1 light infantry and 2 reserve, 6 reorganized as rifle divisions, 3 Croatian Legion infantry, 1 mountain, 1 Cossack, 2 SS mountain, and 1 SS mechanized. The occupation of Greece in mid-June 1941, German 12th Army divisions in Greece transferred to the Eastern Front, leaving most of Greece to Italian control. The Bulgarians in Western Thrace and German forces in Athens, Eastern Macedonia with Salonika, the Greco-Turkish border region, Western Crete and some islands. 12th Army HQ in Athens from October 1941. Salonika, also called Commander-in-Chief Southeast, under General Feldmarschall List, controlled 18 mountain corps, with 164th Infantry Division and 125th Independent Infantry Red in Salonika, 5th Mountain Division on Crete, 6th Mountain Division in Athens and 65th Corps in Serbia and Croatia. With minimal Greek guerrilla activity in 1941, the Germans concentrated their forces on Crete, withdrawing 5th and 6th Mountain Divisions and reorganizing 164th and 713rd Infantry Divisions as Crete-Foe, Butrest Division. In August 1942, 22nd Air Landing Division arrived on Crete, allowing Crete Fortress Division to transfer to North Africa. In 1943, the threats posed by Greek nationalists and communist Hellas guerrilla forces, along with the Italian armistice and a possible Allied landing, forced a reorganization. On the 1st of January 1943, the 12th Army became Army Group E, under Luftwaffe General Oberstleiter from August 1943, restricted to Greece, reporting to Army Group F in Belgrade, under General Feldmarschall von Weichs. Athens was garrisoned from January 1943 by 11th Luftwaffe Field Division, Rhodes from May by Rhodes Assault Division, Eastern Greece, and the Peloponnese from June by 68 Corps 117 Rifle, 1 Panzer Divs, and Western Greece from September by the 22nd Mountain Corps 104th Infantry, 1st Mountain Divs. From January 1944, 41st Fortress Division, with 20 to 999 fortress battalions of disciplinary troops, guarded the Peloponnese, and the Crete garrison was reorganized as 133rd Fortress Division. In August 1944, -1 Corps was formed in Salonika, with fortress brigades to supervise Army Group E's retreat into Yugoslavia. This was completed by the 2nd of November 1944, leaving the island garrisons to surrender in May 1945. Elements of the Rhodes Assault Division joined the new Brandenburg Mechanized Division in Belgrade on the 17th of October 1944. The occupation of Albania on the 9th of September 1943, the 2nd Panzer Armies, the 21st Mountain Corps occupied Albania with 100th Rifle and 297th Infantry Divisions, disarming the Italian garrison and attacking Albanian Communist UNQS guerrillas. 100th Rifle Division left in March 1944 and was replaced in June by the Albanian 21st SS Mountain Division. On the 29th of November, 21 Corps evacuated to Yugoslavia. Army uniform in the Balkans. April 1941, October 1940 for Balkan campaign overlaps with the campaign on the Eastern Front, to be covered in volumes 3 and 4. Therefore, only specific Balkans developments will be considered here. Some of the uniform is covered in more detail in Volume 1. Many troops wore combinations of new and old uniforms and insignia. This was the result of a bewildering succession of regulations and official orders to replace insignia only when worn out, combined with supply difficulties, especially to isolated field units, and the soldiers' individualism, sentimentality and inclination to retain better quality, more attractive items which suggested long battle experience. Furthermore, uniforms and insignia suffered a progressive deterioration in quality during the war years. And though KH prescribed ingenious modifications to counteract this inevitable trend and to adapt to conditions unforeseen before 1939. Orders of dress following the regulations of the 28th of December 1939, Army personnel wore the service uniform, walking out uniform, field uniform or fatigue uniform. The fatigue uniform will be considered in Volume 3. The difficulties of fighting in the hot climate of southern Europe prompted the KH in 1943 to prescribe the M19 for a tropical uniform which had proved so successful in North Africa, for wear in Yugoslavia, Greece, Albania, Bulgaria and Romania during the summer months, which were vaguely described as the hot season. This meant that effectively each order of dress had a winter and a summer version, but many personnel wore a combination of continental and tropical uniforms. Officers' service uniform. This uniform, which underwent comparatively few changes during the war years, consisted of a service cap, field tunic, field greatcoat, breeches and high boots, gloves, and a belt with pistol and holster. In summer, officers' tropical service dress could be worn. The M1935 officer's peaked service cap was manufactured in feldgrau greenish-gray tricot or Eskimo material, with a cap band in bluish dark green facing cloth that was finely woven to give an appearance of a thin felt. There were branch color facing cloth pipings, a plain black peak, and met aluminum wire chin cords. M1935 bright aluminum eagle and swastika was worn above a stamped bright aluminum national cockade in an oak leaf wreath. General officers had gold-colored metallic woven cord cap pipings and gold or yellow artificial Celian wire woven chin cords, and from the 16th of November 1940 to they had cap badges in gilded aluminum. However, many generals, against regulations, preferred hand-embroidered bright gold bullion badges on a bluish dark green facing cloth backing. The M1933 officer's field tunic, finally modified in 1935, was manufactured from superior quality feldgrau cloth with 5 matte gray painted pebbled buttons for patch pockets, turn-back cuffs, and a bluish dark green facing cloth collar. All insignia was field quality and consisted of the M1935 officer's breast eagle and matte aluminum thread on a bluish dark green facing cloth backing. M1935 officer's bluish dark green facing cloth collar patches with hand-embroidered, hand-woven or machine-embroidered matte aluminum guards braids, each with a branch color silk-embroidered center cord, and rank insignia on shoulder boards. General officers had a dress-quality bright or matte gold thread or golden yellow Celian hand-embroidered breast eagle and bright red facing cloth collar patches with the gold two-leaf Altlairish design. On the 19th of July 1940, Hitler revived the General Feldmarschall rank with an unprecedented promotion of 9 generals. And from the 3rd of April 1941, a General Feldmarschall was ordered to wear collar patches with a bright gold, wire-embroidered three-leaf Altlairish pattern. Some officers, especially general officers, retained the 6-button M1928 or even the 8-button M1929 service tunic, removing the front piping, or the M1937 officer's pipe field tunic with field-quality insignia. To counteract the deteriorating quality of the officer's field tunic, the number of front buttons were increased from 5 to 6 on the 26th of May 1941. The M1935 Field Grey officer's field greatcoat had a bluish dark green facing cloth collar. General officers left the top 2 buttons open to show bright red facing cloth lapel linings. From the 9th of May 1940, the bluish dark green collar was to be manufactured in feldgrau uniform cloth, but this order was usually ignored. The plain stone gray officers' breeches, with general officers adding bright red staff officers' crimson facing cloth pipings and broad stripes, were manufactured in feldgrau from the 9th of May 1940. The black high boots, usually made of softer leather than riding boots, were retained, as were the gray suede gloves. The brown leather M1934 officer's belt had a matte aluminum buckle, or matte gilt for generals. On the 20th of September 1939, the cross belt was abolished for all officers below general officer rank in the field army, and from the 29th of November 1939 for all army officers. Many officers unofficially wore captured enemy officers' brown leather belts. Officers wearing the tropical service uniform as summer service dress sometimes wore the M1935 service cap and added bluish dark green collars and M1935 collar patches and breast eagles to the M1940 tropical field tunic. Other ranks: service uniform for technical and senior NCOs and many junior NCOs consisted of the service cap or field cap, field tunic, field greatcoat, trousers and marching boots, a black belt with pistol and holster, and gray suede gloves. Other junior NCOs and men wore the field cap only, and a bayonet and scabbard instead of the pistol and holster. The other ranks: M1935 service peaked cap and Feldgrau tricot, had a black patent leather or vulcanized fiber chin strap. The M1935 other ranks field cap was manufactured in Feldgrau cloth with, from the 5th of February 1939, a silver gray machine embroidered eagle and swastika on a bluish dark green backing and a national cockade on a bluish dark green rhomboid. Both these were changed on the 4th of June 1940 to mouse gray on Feldgrau backing. The cockade was enclosed by a 4mm woolen branch color chevron point-up, which was abolished on the 7th of July 1942. The M1942 other ranks field cap will be described in Volume 3. The M1935 other ranks field tunic, manufactured in Feldgrau cloth with a bluish dark green facing cloth collar and matte gray painted pebbled buttons, had plain cuffs and other ranks field quality insignia. Second image: the M1937 silver gray embroidered breast eagle had a bluish dark green backing. On the 5th of February 1939 the embroidery changed to silver gray. The bluish dark green facing cloth M1938 standard braid collar patches, introduced on the 26th of November 1938, had to Feldgrau braid guards braids, each with bluish dark green braid center stripes and dividing stripe. NCOs wore 9mm wide bright aluminum diamond pattern yarn braid, introduced on the 10th of September 1935, or silver gray artificial silk braid, on the front and lower edge of the field tunic collar. The M1935 rounded bluish dark green facing cloth shoulder straps with branch color facing cloth piping around the outer edges, worn on the field greatcoat, were adopted for the field tunic on the 26th of November 1938. Replacing the M1935 pointed bluish dark green facing cloth shoulder straps without branch color piping. On the 25th of April 1940 NCO collar and shoulder strap braid was changed to mouse gray artificial silk or cellulose fiber wool. On the 9th of May 1940 the bluish dark green facing cloth collars and shoulder straps of the M1935 field tunic were replaced by Feldgrau uniform cloth to form the M1940 field tunic. Also on the 9th of May 1940, a second pattern standard braid collar patch was introduced. This was made up of Feldgrau braid guards braids, with mouse gray braid center stripes and dividing stripe, sewn onto a Feldgrau uniform cloth patch or, as from 1941, sewn directly onto the collar. From the 4th of June 1940 the breast eagle was manufactured in mouse gray machine embroidery on a Feldgrau uniform cloth backing. These changes, implemented late in 1940, were evident in the Balkans from April 1941. On the 26th of May 1941 the number of front buttons increased to 6 to compensate for deteriorating quality. The M1942 and M1943 field tunics will be described in Volume 3. Here is the text transcribed from the image provided, preserving the original formatting and emphasis on specific German terms. After the 9th of May 1940 the bluish dark green collar of the M1935 other ranks field greatcoat was manufactured in Feldgrau uniform cloth, and the plain trousers, designed to be worn with braces, were changed from stone gray to Feldgrau cloth. On the 26th of August 1943 M1943 trousers were introduced with belt loops, and on the 9th of November 1939 the black leather marching boots were shortened to 32 to 34 centimeters to save material. The other ranks M1936 black leather belt had a dull aluminum smooth sheet steel from about 1941 pebbled buckle with the Wehrmacht eagle and a wreath with the Gott Mittens motto. The holster was black leather. The 80 for 98th service bayonet was carried in a blued steel sheath suspended from the belt by a black leather bayonet frog. Officers walking out uniform. This uniform consisted of the peaked service cap, field tunic, field greatcoat, breeches and high boots, or long trousers with ankle boots, and gloves. It was identical to the service uniform except that it was worn without a belt, pistol or holster. Many officers wore the M1937 pipe field tunic. The trousers were changed from stone gray to Feldgrau cloth after the 9th of May 1940, And then on the 26th of August 1943 the M1943 trousers were introduced. The ankle boots were actually black lace-up shoes. Other ranks walking out uniform. Other ranks wore the peaked service cap, field tunic, field greatcoat, long trousers with ankle boots, black leather belt, and the marksman's lanyard. NCOs wore gray suede gloves. Junior NCOs and men wore the bayonet, scabbard, and bayonet knot. In summer the other ranks' tropical walking out uniform was worn. Officers' field uniform in the field. All Army officers except platoon leaders wore the standard steel helmet or officer's field cap, field tunic with the field greatcoat if ordered, brown belt, breeches and riding boots, gray suede gloves, pistol, holster, and 6x30 binoculars. The M1935 and the M1942 standard steel helmets were painted matte greenish-gray with roughened surfaces following the order of the 21st of March 1940. They had a silver-white wear-marked eagle on a black shield on the left side, abolished on the 28th of August 1943. The peakless flapped M1938 officer's new-style field cap was made of felt-grow cloth with aluminum thread pipings. An aluminum wire-embroidered national cockade, enclosed by a branch-color facing cloth chevron, was worn below a machine-woven or hand-embroidered bright aluminum thread eagle on a bluish dark green, facing cloth backing. General officers wore gold thread piping and a gold artificial silk chevron. From the 16th of November 1940 to they wore the eagle and swastika and cockade in hand-embroidered gold thread. On the 7th of July 1942 all officers were required to remove the chevron. The M1943 standard peaked field cap will be described in Volume 4. The M193 for old-style field cap, officially abolished on the 1st of April 1942, continued to be manufactured for officers and NCOs after that date. It was actually the officer's service cap without the metal crown stiffener, chin cords, and buttons. It had a soft black patent leather peak and a bright machine-woven aluminum thread eagle and swastika, cockade and wreath, all on a bluish dark green facing cloth backing. Some officers unofficially added the service cap's matte aluminum wire chin cords. From the 31st of October 1939 all officers below general officer in combat units were ordered to wear the other ranks' field tunic, trousers and marching boots with the black leather belt. But many officers continued to wear their M1935 field tunic or modify the other rank's tunic, adding officers' rollback cuffs, collar patches, and the bluish dark green officers' collars. In the summer months the officers' tropical field uniform was worn. Platoon leaders wore the same field equipment as in North Africa, but retained continental items such as the brown or black leather belt, black leather M1939Y straps, black leather bayonet frock, M1931 olive green or tan canvas bread bag, and M1931 canteen. Tropical items may have been used in summer. Other ranks' field uniform consisted of the helmet or field cap, field tunic, field greatcoat, plain trousers, and marching boots. NCOs had gray suede gloves. Many NCOs wore the M193 for old-style field cap. The M1943 peaked field cap will be described in Volume 4. Other ranks carried the same equipment as in North Africa, but with continental instead of tropical variants. In summer the other ranks' field uniform was worn. Tank crews uniforms. The M193 for special black tank crew uniform which by May 1940 was also worn by artillery, signals, and until 1941 engineer units and panzer divisions consisted of the M19 for officers or other ranks' black peakless field cap, with the branch color chevron removed the 10th of July 1942. The M193 for and M1936 black tank field jacket and trousers, gray shirt, black tie, and black. In summer tank crews wore the M19 for a tropical field uniform, sometimes with M193 for black pipe pink collar patches and skulls. Some general officers in panzer divisions, corps, groups, and armies unofficially wore the black uniform with general officers' insignia. And many officers continued to wear the M1935 Feldgrau officer's service cap. The M1943 peaked black field cap will be described in Volume 3. In 1940 the jacket and collar were shortened slightly to save material, and the collar piping was abolished. In 1943 the buttons closing the M1936 jacket were reduced from 4 to 3, and the 3 left lapel buttonholes to 1. The special Feldgrau field uniform for armored reconnaissance, assault artillery, Armored engineers after 1941 and other units will be described in Volume 3. Special uniforms and insignia for other branches, rifle Juger divisions and independent rifle battalions, but not rifle battalions in infantry regiments, lightly equipped mobile troops organized for hilly terrain not requiring the specialist skills of mountain divisions, were on 2 October 1942 issued mountain troops uniforms with the light green branch color and M1939 Feldgrau mountain trousers, gray ankle puttees and mountain boots. 3 bright aluminum or dark aluminum zinc oak leaves were worn on the left side of the mountain cap and a machine-embroidered or woven badge with 3 light green oak leaves on a bluish dark green or Feldgrau oval edged in green, gray or white rope on the right upper sleeve. The Großdeutschland Motorized Regiment, fighting in Belgrade in April 1941, adopted the 7th of October 1940 a new black cloth cuff title with a hand or machine-embroidered aluminum thread cursive Großdeutschland and edging. Uniforms and insignia of foreign volunteers. Person of the Croatian Legion divisions wore a straight-sided red and white checkerboard shield stenciled to the left side of the steel helmet, and a machine-woven or machine-embroidered black-edged curved heraldic shield with Hrvatska, Croatia in red. This word was deleted by German cadre personnel above a checkerboard, on the left or right upper sleeve of the field tunic and greatcoat. Veterans of the Croatian Legion, formed in July 1941, wore a silver-gray metal laurel linden leaf on the right breast pocket. The 1st Cossack Cavalry Division wore German cavalry uniforms with regimental fur caps, reinforced riding breeches, and the burqa cloak. On the 18th of March 1940 for the Lance design collar patches and modified Russian Surist rank insignia were replaced by German insignia. The Russian Corps in Serbia wore modified Surist Russian uniforms and insignia, changing on the 30th of November 1940 to German uniforms and insignia without any distinguishing unit badge. The 845th German Arab Infantry Battalion wore German uniforms and insignia with the Free Arabia badge of Sonderverband 287 on the right upper sleeve. In June 1943, 287th Assault Gun Battery, formerly in Sonderverband 287, joined 1st Tank BN, Rhodes Assault Division. Its personnel still wearing Panzer lapel skulls and the Orient Corps arm badge on their tropical uniforms. Armenian Infantry Battalion I-125 personnel wore special collar and shoulder strap insignia introduced in August 1942 and replaced on the 18th of March 1940 by German insignia and a machine-woven or machine-embroidered black-edged curved heraldic shield with Armenian and golden yellow or white above red, blue and golden yellow bars on the left upper sleeve. Rank insignia. General officers wore dress-quality plated shoulder boards with 2 gold bullion or golden yellow Celian thread cords and 1 bright flat aluminum braid central cord on a bright red, branch color facing cloth backing. A general feldmarschall had silver cross marshal's batons. Other general officers had 3-0 German silver or white aluminum plated pips and branch insignia. From the 3rd of April 1941 all 3 cords of the general feldmarschall were in bright gold or golden yellow Celian. Field officers wore 5 mm wide met aluminum braids on a branch color facing cloth backing and 2-0 gold-colored galvanized or lacquered gray aluminum or zinc alloy pips and branch insignia. Captains and subalterns wore the same insignia onto 7-8 mm wide met aluminum later Feldgrau braids placed side by side on a branch color facing cloth backing. Senior NCOs wore 3-1 gray aluminum or zinc alloy pips and branch insignia on M1935 bluish dark green facing cloth, or M1940 Feldgrau uniform cloth shoulder straps piped in branch color facing cloth, and edged on all sides by 9 mm wide mouse gray artificial silk or cellulose fiber wool, diamond pattern yarn braid. A Hauptfeldwebel Dutens wore 2 NCO braids on the cuff of the field tunic and greatcoat. Junior NCOs wore the same shoulder straps and braids as senior NCOs, with the Unterfeldwebel wearing braid around the shoulder strap and the Unteroffizier omitting braid across the base of the strap. Men wore the same shoulder straps and shoulder slides as junior NCOs. Insignia and M1936 NCO braid rank chevrons and embroidered silver gray or aluminum thread pips on a triangular circular for obers. Folded backing of bluish dark green facing cloth changed on the 9th of May 1940 to Feldgrau uniform cloth, and in black cloth for the black tank uniform. branch insignia from the 1st of September 1939. All units of the Field Army, but not the replacement army, were ordered, for security reasons, to remove or conceal branch symbols which identified more closely than the branch color the type of unit, as well as the unit identifying numerals on their shoulder boards and shoulder straps. Officers and senior NCOs tended to retain their branch symbols. From the 24th of January 1940, shoulder straps for junior NCOs and men were, with the exception of elite formations such as Großdeutschland, manufactured without branch symbols or unit numerals. Removable felt grout shoulder slides, with branch color wool or cotton yarn or flat thin yarn embroidered chain stitch branch symbols and unit numerals, were issued for wear in rear areas or on leave. Engineers' black and Medical Corps' dark blue insignia omitted the former white chain stitch outline.